Hey guys, welcome to another driving test video. So this was a test at Bromley Driving Test Center on the 15th of November 2022. So the test took place at 7:50 a.m. in the morning and it was unfortunately a fail. So on this test there were three serious faults. So this is so far, I believe, if I'm right, the worst test we've had for this year so far. So hopefully this is going to be the only one. But yeah, so we had three serious faults on this test, faults that could have been avoided. Keep in mind. So the first serious fault was clearance. Now, hopefully, we'll be able to point these out in the video later on. The second one was safety during moving off, and the third one was response to signs, signals, which mainly in this case was traffic signs, as she failed to recognize or respond to a bus lane and, however, as the examiner would say, drove into the bus lane. So we're waiting to see how far into the bus lane she went into, because typically anyway the examiner would actually have pushed you away from entering the bus lane anyway. So going into it means she was actually given enough chance to kind of maybe respond to it. So yeah, so that was it. So let's go on and see, hopefully it would point out or if we can figure out where these were on the video. So and then minor faults. So there were three faults for progress. So appropriate speed, examiner complained she was driving quite too slow in few occasions. And this could have been a serious fault, like I always say, but wasn't given as a serious fault because it was three different times that was marked for speed. Now, the test we had after this, which I'm going to be posting hopefully soon after this video, we had three faults as well for driving too slow, which then was given as a serious fault automatically. So I always say these things in some videos, and it's actually happened this time around. So keep it in mind, if you have one same fault three times, it is possible that you can be given a serious fault for that. So three becomes one serious fault. So sorry, three minors then becomes one serious fault. So one minor for clearance as well, and one other minor for positioning, so lane discipline, and one minor for use of mirrors when changing direction. So that we probably wouldn't see, as we can't see the signal where it wasn't done or not. But anyways, we'll see what we can pick out from the video and hope that you learned some few things from it. Unfortunately, as you would say, we are using the interior camera on this test, and that's because of the rain. Now, if I use the camera on the roof, then we probably wouldn't be able to see properly due to the rain being on top of the lens. So, but with the interior one, of course, we've got the wipers clearing the water spray off the windscreen. But anyways, for some people, they prefer this camera angle. Remember, when coming out from this side of the test center, be careful of the pavement just ahead of you here because of pedestrians walking through the footpath. So slow down and approach that part slowly and cautiously. So, but they've taken this way because there was some truck blocking the road on the left at Lido. So you know how this test center is anyways, space is an issue. So yep, let us go and see what we can pick out from this video. So this road, Montage Lane, can be very tricky going out, so take your time, be cautious, be careful, observe properly, and look left and right. Make sure your head is swinging around. You want to be doing proper observation, and yep, you'll be fine. Be careful when approaching buses at bus stop. Look at the bus stop and see if the bus stop is busy. In this case, it was just one pedestrian going in, which means, I mean, that bus is going to be moving off soon, and it's been there for a few seconds before you get there. So in this case, I would probably just hold up, expecting that the bus is going to be moving off very soon. Now, if the bus was just ahead of you and signaling to pull up, then we know this bus might probably be there for a few seconds. And in that case, you should be looking out for a safe opportunity. And if one comes and it is safe, then you can use the gap safely to go through it. But remember, it's all about patience in this case. If you know the bus has been there for a while and most people are almost coming off or no one is going in anymore, then remind yourself the bus is going to be moving off soon. But then on the other hand, if you're going to be stopping behind the bus, keep yourself to the right of your lane so that if an opportunity comes, you'll be able to get around the bus safely. And also, secondly, you'll be able to see past the bus to know, what's going on ahead. Now, don't forget, don't try passing a bus or overtaking a bus at a bus stop if you haven't seen in front of it, if there's actually space for you to go into. And this is why you want to keep yourself to the right in the first place so you can see. Now, luckily, in this case, no fault has been given for the situation at the bus stop there. So, yep, but keep this in mind. Now, on this road, the examiner mentioned that she was getting too close to the parked vehicles. So, monitoring the left side camera, I noticed that actually the driver was quite too close to the cars on the left. And if you look on the right ahead of us, there would be actually more space on the right. That when you're driving in a narrow road with vehicles parked on both sides, if the space cannot fit two cars and clearly vehicles ahead are waiting for you, then don't lock yourself too close to the left. Use the space, stay in the middle of the road and pass through it. You've got that space, use it. So keep this in mind. This is why there was a serious fault here. Pay attention when approaching traffic light and don't mistake a parked car with vehicles waiting in queue for the light, just like you'd see here. Now, it is possible that this was the position or the point where she had a minor fault for lane discipline. So she's gone into the right lane as she turned left into this road instead of remaining on the left lane. So keep this in mind. If there is no traffic on the left, there's nothing holding you back, you should be driving in the normal driving lane, which is the left lane, unless if of course it is blocked, bus lane, roadwork, or the left lane is moving slower than the fast lane and you're passing vehicles in the left lane, then you can use the right lane. So she got stuck behind that car for no reason when she could have avoided it. And also getting to this light here, I can see right here that we are probably positioned over both the center lane and the right lane. And then as she drove off the traffic light, her positioning was quite disturbing. It seemed like she was unsure where she wanted to stay, either on the left lane or the right lane. So we kind of just straddled around the lanes. So I'm actually surprised that she was not given a serious fault for this situation. So again, that was actually a lucky one there. So yep, keep this in mind. This is why I've got all of these cameras dotted around the car so that we can really get a good view of what is happening on your test. Now, I also don't know how many of you have actually been paying attention to the speed since we left the previous traffic light, considering the fact that we're also on the right lane. So keep this in mind. I'm going to be counting this as one of the situations where progress was given for speed. So that would be one minor fault there as well for speed. Now, after moving off this traffic, she got the second serious fault for turning or moving into the bus lane. Now, there are two situations that you could have avoided here. One, there's an arrow right in front of you on the sign telling you no right turn here. And then the line on your right, which is always the line filtering you away from the bus lane, she had also missed that line. So keep this in mind. I understand you could get confused because SatNav might tell you to be turning right ahead, but you need to check your SatNav. How many yards away is it? How far is the arrow from where you're turning right? So this was the point, as you can see. Keep this in mind if you're driving through this route. Don't confuse yourself. And this is why I always encourage to learn to look at your sat nav rather than paying attention to just listening to that beautiful lady or young man on the sat nav giving you guidance. Keep it in mind. Turn your audio off. Learn to look on the screen. Maybe you can use this to kind of, you know, encourage yourself to look on the screen and understand how the sat nav works better rather than just listening. At this traffic light, there are two lanes turning right. So if the instruction is to turn right and then take the third exit on the left, remember that you should be using the left of the two lanes going right, so that way you'll be able to keep left to follow the next instructions. And even apart from that, if you're just told to turn right and you know there are more than one lanes going to that direction, remind yourself the normal driving lane is the left. Save yourself from further problem ahead. Just remembering, just be in the left lane. Because at the end of the day, even if, the left lane is clear and there's no one around, someone might be behind you who wants to drive faster than you, even if you're driving at the speed limit. The point is leaving that right lane for those who want to go faster. You're not going to be the police, so you're not going to be policing their speed, expecting them to be on 30 or 20 because that's a speed limit. So keep this in mind. Discipline yourself to always remain in the left lane, even if you're driving at the speed limit or if you think you're making enough progress and the left lane is open. Just stay in the left lane. Let these people get on their way. Let them get to wherever it is they're rushing to. It is not our own problem. We're not going to, try and police that. So keep this in mind. Now, again, we are sitting in the right lane and she's going to be having a problem ahead. So either if she's going to be switching lane as she passes this light, or she's going to have to do that later on as she crosses this point. So let's see. Luckily, she's been able to change lane on time without a problem there, because as you would see there was no vehicles on her left. Now that would also make me to think that this would have been where she had a minor fault for changing lane without a mirror check, because perhaps she could have treated that as a single lane and just went straight in and then straight into the left hand side of the road. But keep this in mind, this is getting quite too frequent. Again, we've just driven over two lanes here again. So to be honest, the drive was actually a little bit here and there. So she could actually have had more faults than this. For example, that lane discipline, I think she could have gotten about 2 or 3 lane faults for lane discipline on this test. So that was actually quite a very generous result after watching these situations. So learn from this and keep this in mind. Remember to pay attention to the flashing light on the sign. So if this light is flashing, then that means the speed you should be driving at is 20. And once you've passed that school, then yeah, normal speed limit continues again. And if you also noticed on this road that she hasn't been making much progress. I mean, we have not really gone past 20 most of the time. So keep this in mind. Now I can understand when you're going through the bends or when you're braking because it's raining. But this should not stop you from making progress when you're going straight ahead and there's nothing in front of you holding you back and the road is safe. Driving in rain shouldn't mean driving so slow. It should just mean increase your stopping distance from any vehicle ahead of you or when you're going through bends, because this is something that I get quite often from learners, and so did this learner say as well. She did say she was driving slow because it was raining and all of that. But yes, it is raining, but you should be paying attention more in terms of your stopping distance from other vehicles, which should increase, and when you're going through bends. So keep that in mind. As you would notice on this road, there is quite an opportunity to make progress, which has really not been made so far. So this would clarify another minor fault for appropriate speed. So, as Lena moved off after pulling up on the right and reversing, she did not notice the car coming up ahead. Now, this can happen when drivers are moving off, but you're looking to your left while you're moving off. And then it would have been too late as you check forward while you're moving off. So keep this in mind. You've got to be looking into the direction you're moving to whenever you're driving off. Look around you so that when you're going to move off, you'll be looking at the direction where you're moving to. So keep this in mind. This was then a serious fault just towards the end of the test. So this is now coming to the end of this test. Now I hope you've learned one or two things from this test. Bear in mind the mistakes that's been made on this test, particularly with the issue of observation, lane discipline actually, most especially. There was a lot of lane straddling during the test. And what else? But yeah, anyways, so you've seen it. You can revisit the video, you can replay it, you can rewind it. Keep it in mind. Remember the bus lane. Look ahead of you, check the road signs, respond to the signs so that you don't make mistakes like this. Remind yourself and remember that every time you're crossing a line, that's because you're changing lane or you're leaving a lane. So if you see a line a line that's coming up to your left and you're crossing it, or so on the right, then you're leaving your lane. Ask yourself, are you supposed to be doing that? Are you actually changing lane? And if you are, have you made your intention known? Have you signaled? Have you checked your mirrors? So keep this in mind, and remember, if you find this useful, don't forget like the video, leave a comment if you have any questions about any of the things that we have pointed out on this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it. Don't forget, click the subscribe button and support the channel. So I hope that you are doing well with your test and your lessons. I hope you're doing well with your lessons so far. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. So have a lovely day. Take care and stay safe on the road.